What's going on YouTube? JT Born here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about The Boy Wonder, issue number 2. This is a Black Label book. It is written and drawn by Junie Bod. It is an Elseworlds tale, focusing primarily on Damian Wayne and his interactions with various members of the Bat family, and also kind of this new villain known as Rock, who kind of shows up in this issue, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so the first issue I thought was, a decent kind of Elseworlds tale. It's a lot of familiar ground we've already kind of seen with Damian's character, but I think it's more, since it's an Elseworlds tale, they kind of have to reestablish things. And if you're somebody who's not as familiar with the characters, kind of for newer readers, I feel like it's more friendly to read that story as opposed to just kind of jumping into wherever the hell the main DC Comics universe is at this moment in time. So the first chapter was Damian, and had Dick and Babs in there, and this chapter is primarily focused on Damian and his relatability relationship with Jason. Jason kind of takes the main focal point of this issue. They kind of establish him as like the black sheep of the family. They kind of dive a little bit more into their relatable aspects of each other. Of course, they do confirm that his mom did bring Jason back. Jason looks kind of rough. They deal with his kind of poor upbringing and how he's just kind of a bit of an outcast with everything that kind of goes on. You have people look after him. There's some tragedy involved, and you have Damian and Jason interacting. Like, he's all scarred and kind of like messed up. Looking here, look at his arms, and then you have like his face and such. So he's not looking as pristine and clean. But ultimately, they kind of agree to work together, and then they're kind of taken down by this demon guy known as Rock, who beats them but then just kind of leaves. So he's playing some sort of strange game with them, and it kind of leaves you wondering, like, why is he really doing that? Jason actually does shoot Damian at one point, but then he kind of patches him up, and Damian kind of lets him know he's always got a place at home. And yeah, the artwork doesn't really, Jason looks rough as hell in this style. This isn't really my ideal favorite type of art style, but it definitely has its own unique look to it all. But Jason is looking rough here. I mean, he is all scarred all over the place. He looks like he hasn't trimmed or polished his nails in how long, but he is just looking rough, like some kind of like a meth head addict. He has been through hell. He just looks like it here. So the style doesn't really do Jason any favors. I know a lot of people like, oh wow, look, it's Jason, but yeah, he is not done really too many favors in this particular style. But I think the strength of this issue, again, is the dynamic between Jason and Damian on display. And it seems that with these subsequent issues, the next one seems to be hinting that it's going to be Damian and Tim focused. So I'm sure that'll happen. The villain will show up again. I'm not sure why the villain didn't just kind of kill these two right out the get-go, unless he's playing some sort of game. We don't exactly know at this point in the story. It's still early on, so I'm kind of waiting to see where it kind of goes from here. But I did like the issue kind of touching on Jason's kind of poor upbringing. I feel like that's something we haven't really seen showcased in more recent DC Comics in quite a while. And to forget, yeah, Jason didn't really have the best upbringing, kind of growing up into the Bat family and such. And you see him feeling like the black sheep of the family. Obviously, he goes around and he does killing. Damian did the same thing, so there is kind of that relatability between those two. And of course, Talia al Ghul is connected to both characters, being Damian's mom and the person who brought Jason back to life. But there's still kind of that, hey, no matter what, Bruce is still going to kind of care for you, and he blames himself, or he doesn't blame you for all the stuff that's kind of been happening in the story. So there's some good stuff in here, and I think if you're more of a Jason fan, I think it's nice to kind of see this side of the character dabbled into a little bit after not really seeing it showcased in quite a while, at least in the stuff I've kind of read recently. I mean, there was that recent Red Hood mini series that they just did. I didn't really check that one out, so maybe that one kind of dove into that a little bit more. But for me, I feel like it's been a while since I kind of read something focused on this aspect of Jason. So, and again, this is more of a story that I feel like that works better for newer readers. For some people, feel kind of redundant, we've already kind of done a lot of this stuff before, but it is an Elseworlds tale. Its own universe has to kind of set things up, so I'm totally fine with it kind of covering some of the stuff. Is it the most exciting storyline? No, not quite yet, but I think there are some good strengths and aspects to the issue. So yeah, the artwork may not be for everyone, and it's not my favorite ideal style, but it kind of works for this little Elseworlds type tale that they got going on here. So there's some good aspects to it. I like the way that the Damian and Jason are written in this thing. Again, this is early Damian. It's not a character who's kind of gone through all this stuff already. This is kind of him really trying to evolve on his own. So there's that going for it. But I think overall, if you're a Damian fan or a Jason fan, I think there's a lot to like in this issue. And So yeah, I think it's worth checking out, I suppose. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this particular issue, and that should wrap it up for my DC comic book reviews for this week. I got some other comics books maybe I'll get to tomorrow. There's a new issue of Godzilla Rivals I wanted to talk about, but I haven't gotten around to reading it just quite yet, but I plan on reading it today and probably post a video on it tomorrow, so look forward to all that stuff. All right, well, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now, bye-bye then, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.